would you, for those who wish, would you join in the pledge of allegiance?
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That said, would you please remain standing for a moment for a little change in the regular meeting. For those who have died in the face of evil, last in Texas, New York City, Nevada, California, Virginia, Florida, those who died fleeing war, and those of our own soldiers lost in the battles of current wars. Thank you. And this Saturday, everybody down. This Saturday will be the 11th day of the 11th month, and 2017 marks the 100th anniversary of our entry into the Great War. Veterans Day celebration will be at 11 a.m. on Saturday the 11th at Veterans Park. Join us there and say thanks to veterans who are alive with us. Now, that said, the meeting of the Budget Committee for November 9th is called to order. We have a change in the representation of the selectmen seated in the front row, maybe in camera range, are from my left, Andy Rawson, Ryan Thibodeau, and Town Administrator Heather Thibodeau. And behind them, Fire Chief Nick Marie, John Catwick, Cemetery Trustees, Brian Boyers, and Dale Sprague. Dale Sprague for the sewer. So my plan, as usual, is the agenda following the roll call and introduction of members. From my left, please call out.
Erin Hudson. Peg Hurd.
Thomas McDougall. Bob Carrier.
Larry Brown.
Sean Perot.
Stan Nato. That's one.
Okay. Then we have quorum. There are presentations by the town budget departments, and there is a list. You may not have seen the agenda itself. I will read it off for your convenience. Town administrator, insurance and benefits, moderator, cemetery, planning and code, planning board, zoning, sewer, and conservation. I have no preference. There are John, you, and Dale, and Brian are what I will call civilians. Is there an order, Heather, that you want to do things in, or should I ask them first, or what seems most useful? Who wants to volunteer to go first? We'll put it that way.
Now that I get everything in the order.
Yeah, we did the bulleted item order.
We're going to bite the bullets in the order they are listed.
Mr. Chairman, can I just have a quick question?
Yes.
I don't see Budget Committee, ZBA on any of these lists. Are they just been forgotten about, or?
We still have.
The zoning was here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
zoning.
ZBA.
Well, actually, that's what I should have put ZBA on.
So zoning is, you're considering zoning as ZBA?
Yes.
I
Okay.
think my presumption is that Brian will speak to land use units, uses that, and Heather will be speaking to the town administration.
Okay, but how about budget? There's no budget on here.
It's probably because we are
Okay.
either didn't get listed or we're going.
What is this?
This is scheduling.
The scheduling?
Yeah, these three meetings, you have all the departments, but you don't have budget now. I didn't know that zoning was ZBA.
Point of clarification, I think we tried to schedule as many as we could. First off, I know off the top of my head, there are 2 that are not on there already, so we're gonna be adding to that list, but we're trying to schedule as many as what we will be adding to.
Okay, they're incomplete at this time. I believe there's actually 3. Contingency and bonding, and I believe outdoor,
Outside
appropriations and
Recreation
And recreation is
Treasurer.
on here.
treasure. This is all we have for tonight.
and library,
All right, so this is what we're gonna stick with now.
This, we're gonna try. Then,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Jenny,
I'm sorry. I just want to open up the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I
Please.
apologize. So I'd like to open up the Board of Selectmen's meeting for the budget workshop November 9th.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other housekeeping? that you
I
would
have
like
a
to
question.
take care of?
I understand that the selectmen are present before us, but under normal circumstances, has the board of selectmen determined the selectmen's representative in the budget committee under normal circumstances?
Yeah. Unfortunately, at this time, we haven't, due to
Circumstances.
Yeah, due to that and what we've been told by our attorney, so, but for tonight, it's gonna have to.
So, for the moment, when the school board has presented its budget, if I remember, and when we went to the deliberative session, even though the selectman's rep was part of the budget committee, they sat with the with town administration, and the school board member sat with the
School board.
school board. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the selectmen who are here, who would be certainly able to choose a representative, if that were, today's fancy word is politic, which means made sense. They're sitting as
Right, I
a
understand
board.
that. I
So
was
they're,
addressing the question then specifically.
okay. Any other housekeeping to put out of the way? Okay. Then, this would be department budget presentations, beginning with Heather Thibodeau, talking about town administration and her items and the costs of running town administration. Heather.
May I ask a question
Oh,
first?
okay.
I seem to have 2 for town administration.
One has the
Okay.
default on it, one doesn't.
I'm sorry, what?
I think one has the default on it, and one doesn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Which
All right,
one
good.
do you-
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. To begin with, the first line is my salary, it's a contract line from myself. And that goes from January 1st to August, and my anniversary date, then it bumps up on my anniversary date. And then also for the bookkeeper, we're going back to what we've always had as a full-time bookkeeper, we've had most times. With a cost of living increase and a possible merit. That represents $107,881.64, which is the first line on 110.
Heather,
Yep.
which one of these sheets should we be looking at to follow you?
This one has the default on it, that one doesn't.
This
Which
guy
one are
here?
you looking at? That has the default. That was my request, and the default is right here. I would think the easiest one for you to follow me would be this one.
Okay.
And that's the one with the
Yours
comments?
approved.
Okay, with the
Yours
comments.
approved.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
I try to give you as much information as your little heart could desire.
Okay.
Thanks, I just want to be able to follow where you're going.
Okay, are we going at it together? Yes. Okay.
Okay. So the next line is salary part-time. We've had different part-time in the past. For this, different times there's been a salary, there's been a part-time administrative assistant in this line, part-time bookkeeper. We want to keep the line open at $1, so that's why that's in there. The next line is salary elected. That represents the lovely Board of Selectmen that's sitting next to me.
And can I stop you? Do you want us to hold all questions to the end, Mr. Chairman, or as he's going?
That's what I have tried to do is not lose an idea by the formality of going through the chairman. If things seem to be bogged down and it gets close to 9 o'clock and we don't seem to be getting anywhere by 8 o'clock, I might want things crisper. But the town administration is very much the pivot point that a great deal of the operation of the town goes on. And if people understand how that works, I think it will inform the...
Okay, but do you want us to, if we have a question, should we ask it on the spot? I don't as of yet, but I want to know what the rules are.
That the rules are ask away, Stan.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, I'll let you know. But thank you. And unless people start talking back and forth at cross purposes, let's get the work done rather than deal with the formality of Mr. Chairman. Okay? I appreciate the honor of the title, but let's go. Heather.
Okay. So we have the salary for the elected, $69.30. Then we had FICA, which is 6.2%. Medicaid, 1.45%. Training, the board approved $900, and that this year we didn't use as much. I think it's important to have training because that's not only training for myself, but it's for Vanessa, who's my, or for the bookkeeper or finance officer. It's for my Board of Selectmen. There are different workshops throughout the year that it's important for people to maintain going to and have the most accurate training and stay current on the laws that go up throughout the year. And I think it's important that we all take advantage of different training opportunities. Legal services. As you know, we've changed attorneys, or most of you are aware we've changed attorneys. And so in the past, we have been on a retainer. This year, we're going to see how it goes and how what our costs are for legal services. So we budgeted, it was 35 the last couple of years. We're selecting down to 33. Registry of Deeds, $300. We expect to be selling and registering and making more activity there. Contract services. Okay, contract services is Back Bay. That's our IT provider, MetroCast. The auditor is $18.5. Stonehill. Stonehill is our contracted financial person who comes in, where we're going to be going to a full-time bookkeeper halfway through the year. Once our bookkeeper is up and trained after going for a whole year of accounting, which is the tax rate setting, which is all the MS forms, which is getting through everything. Halfway through the year, where she's going to only need to come in every other week, so we're going to read her. So instead of having her come in every week, that will drop that cost down. It's $55 an hour for 8 hours a week for 26 weeks, and then $55 an hour for 8 hours for 13 weeks. So that's that cost. Then we needed to get Seacoast Business Copier, because we need to get a new copier. Those of you who know, we're having trouble with our copier. Milton Mills Cemetery Association annual lease rental fees, that we need to keep that dollar in that line. The fire alarm system, our fire chief in the back would speak to us needing to have that. Northeast burglar alarm system, that goes off on a regular basis when something wind blows. The Harris Sport, Unismart software, that's our estimated increase in percent, $8,050. Crystal Rock water, people to drink. So that comes up to be $584,152.
Hi, I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, Milton has the second best drinking water in the state. Why do we need to buy bottled water when we can just put a cooler in and I drink it at home, the water? Why do we have to pay $270 a year for bottled water?
Stan, I did get a letter yesterday not to drink the water.
From who?
I don't know, somebody said about the copper in the water?
No, that's not what it said at all.
Oh, okay.
What it said is, and we have to do lead and coppers.
Okay,
And right after the fire station was put in and Dunkin' Donuts put in, with all the new copper pipe, we had a couple hits on our lead and coppers.
okay.
All right, because of the new copper piping in the ground. It doesn't say nothing about not drinking. We have second best water in the state.
Oh, okay, so it's
The
not
only
that.
the only thing that's put in the water is soda ash for the pH. That's the only thing we put in our water. No, what do you call that?
Chlorine,
or the other stuff that.
fluorine,
Fluoride?
Or fluoride, none of that. We don't put none of that in there.
I think it's just something that the staff has always had here, and it's just something that we've always budgeted for.
Mr. Chair,
That,
I'm the health officer. You cannot drink water out of the bathroom tap. It cannot be drawn to drinking purposes.
Okay. If you didn't hear it clearly, that's Brian Boyers speaking as health officer?
Yes.
As health officer for the requirements, sanitation for a potable drinking water source that cannot be drawn even from a clean bathroom.
There's no reason for that. None whatsoever.
It is by code in law.
Why can't you put a cooler and tap off the pipe? Why can't you do that?
Right now, if you took that out now, we'd have to go using the sinks.
You'd have to do what?
We'd have to use the sinks. There's no, the only water upstairs is those bathroom sinks.
Oh, but you couldn't put a copper pipe going to a chilled cooler that feds, like you go to many facilities, you see that.
Possible, but that's not what the reason is why we had bottled water before.
But what I'm saying here is, your statement made it sound like it was not drinkable for health reasons. That's not what
It
you...
is, you cannot draw potable drinking water out of a bathroom.
Okay, but that's not due to the water being bad. It's,
No, I
okay,
didn't say that.
all right.
It's due
Okay.
to the facility, I think is what it is.
The assessment of whether or not the town wishes to make a change to a source which uses the same water but from an improved distribution point is a policy decision of the executive authority of the selectmen. My own understanding is that the present arrangement of cooler provides for both hot and cold water at the push of a button, or am I?
That's correct.
No, that's not it.
That is correct.
It is
We have hot and
correct.
cold.
It does have hot and cold. Fine, okay.
voice out
So, point duly taken. I remember in statewide blind testing, we were also number one. It is an excellent, that stratified drift aquifer, the wells and the maintenance of the system are exemplary for the quality and taste of our water. Okay?
So water's good, I guess. I just,
That takes us down to,
next one?
we are at vehicle.
No, legal notices and aids.
Okay, legal notices and ads are
Ads.
employment ads, $1,200. Employment ads, RFPs, public hearing notices for ordinance and other legal requirements required in the newspaper. And the Board of Selectmen approved $900 for that. Basically, we're going to hopefully be selling some more property and setting up notices, employment ads, whatever's going on. Next thing, professional services, $13,805. Selectman recording clerk, $75 a meeting times 48 meetings is $3,600. Website, Mockstock, 320. Website developer, GoDaddy is 4226.
So Heather, I have a question on the paying $3,000 for GoDaddy. What does that actually have? Like,
It is GoDaddy and it's our server, no, Mockstock and our, it's mostly for all our website services. Mockstock, you take off the 320 from, I have to figure it out exactly, but. What is 320?
what, 2680?
It's 3906, I guess, comes out to be whatever we're paying for everything to do with the website, including the development and the the hosting and everything else.
Okay. That just seems really high, just from my personal.
It also includes the development of the website and and everything, so that's.
Yeah. So the current one that's already been developed, are we still pursuing a
No.
brand new website?
We're pursuing a brand new website.
And they're hired a GoDaddy web developer?
GoDaddy is, well, it's GoDaddy is who's hosting it right
Yep.
now. That's who we're paying for.
That's usually like $200 a
It's-
year.
It's 200, but then there's somebody else with the bill is coming through from them.
So,
It's like a subcontractor person.
so Sean, would your point be that even though this is under $5,000, it would be useful as a takeaway for the selectmen to look at alternate sources for long-term website?
Correct information?
Yeah, I mean, I'll totally give you guys a hand. I mean, that's what I do for a living. So, but yeah, $3,000 to host a website for a town, and the traffic that we get, which isn't like tremendous, is very, very expensive. So I would sit down, talk, whatever, try to see what's happening, see if we can bring that number down.
Okay.
I realize it's not a huge amount, but I think the house rate.
Tom?
On that same line that we're talking about, what else is there something that's not included there? Because I see MaxDog 320, website developer GoDaddy 3000, that's like 3320. But yet what's in the column for the extended is 4226.
I'm trying to think if it's missing some other thing. That's what I was just wondering.
And again, that's a kind of small number when you look at the overall budget, but
I know, I'm just wondering if there's like another example. Email's the next slide.
A
What's the next
question
slide?
would be, there
Look
have
here. Hold on a minute.
there have been some, what I will call side expenses coming out of this development. Would any of those side expenses be here?
Could be side expenses. Let me just see
Sure.
what's in charge to that line. That's what you're wondering what this big stack is here. It's everything that's on different lines.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Touch it. What was it? Keep it in the closet.
I do look at the one.
Me too.
So then the question that's being checked is what Tom sees as approximately $1,000 that does not seem to subtract out from the given line cost, correct?
Correct. I'm just trying to figure out what else has been charged to that line. We had some technology, additional email services. Looks like one in there. Could we use last year's budget lines to try to determine this year's budget lines?
There were certain expenses having to do with tracking emails earlier in the year. Where would that expense be found reference to
That
this?
would be in contract, that would have been in professional services actually. That's
Mhm.
why.
Okay.
Is there some, under professional services, is there some contracts that haven't been paid yet that you expect? Because you only spent $2,833 year to date out of a $10,027 budget.
There are some, I mean, I just signed a, for instance, there was a budget, a bill that just came across. You'll see in a minute, there are some bills that, I think it was a $3,800 bill that just came across my desk today.
It's still only gonna be about 50-something%.
I know, a lot of times things come at the end of the year though, Stan.
Yeah,
so-
I understand, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why I'm like, okay, why is this coming in advance? And we have, I know right now, we're gonna have another audit that's coming through, right, like for professional services. I'm just gonna finish this for a minute. I'm gonna look more into this website line. MetroPass business line that's gone out, that's for the emails. Background checks for new employees, that's 206. Seacoast Medicare, 3 employment, physical, drug screen, and breath alcohol tests. We'll have, I know of 2 before the end of the year. Unknown professional services audits such as investigations and other unanticipated issues. State law requires internal financial audit within town clerk, tax collector, treasurer, deputy treasurer leaves $2,500 an audit. Also, if something is going on, sometimes you have to have an audit done, and I'm anticipating 2 of those before the end of this year alone.
But doesn't that go into unanticipated funds?
No, it's under this professional line, professional services line.
Because we do have a
We
anticipated.
do, that's a different line.
Right, so why wouldn't that be, if it's unanticipated, why wouldn't it be both be one and the same?
Because we know that we're gonna need those professional service, the audits done. Because if somebody leaves, somebody retires, or something's going on. I mean, you have to budget for them.
That, if I may, Peg, you can join on this. The school district, in I think a similar fashion, if I remember conversation, has to budget health insurance on a family basis, even though the person may only take a single. And it's the obligation to have the funds in place, which drives the line. Does that fit? Okay.
We have to do the same thing.
Yeah. That brings us to the top for street lighting.
We averaged out over the course of years, electric bills going up. So $1,500 on times 12 is $1,800.
Is, question, is that 1,500 the actual average of what was spent?
We took, when I
last year?
started to write the budget, we averaged out what we've gotten, and then we just averaged it times it and multiplied by 12.
Okay.
That seemed like the easiest way to try to figure it out.
Because that just seems like it's like a 15% increase. I don't think my electric bill is going
I'm surprised, I like everybody, if you're, while you're going through these budgets, you're going to find everybody's light bills are going up.
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
I think that was the biggest jump,
Yeah, it just
everybody.
seemed
did.
big.
It does.
Isn't that where the solar farm was supposed to be helping us right now? Oops, did I say that?
Water bill,
Didn't hear anything.
$1. Telephone, First Light, again, I took the average, was $53 times 12.
Excuse me, just information, for those listening, First Light is what?
Is our telephone company, it's a telephone service.
Oh,
It used to be Bayron,
oh, okay. So,
and it was bought out at some point during the year.
mhm.
So that comes out to $543,840.
Thank you.
Then we go down to printing and copies, and that's annual town report and voter's guide, 4841. Purchase orders, $300. Town envelopes, mailing labels, other town office printed supplies, $2,000. Miscellaneous business cards for TA, bookkeeper, new selectmen, staff, etc., $2,400. Okay, then supplies. 1099 forms, $100. AED pads for 2 AEDs in town halls, $160. General office supplies, paper, pens, paper, and binder clips, manila file folders, hanging file jackets, highlighters, tapes, posted staples, and other supplies. 1175, toner for bookkeeper printer. That we go for that. Photocopier paper, 45 cases, town meeting supplies, binders, and other supplies for BOS, attorney, TA, moderator, town clerk, and bookkeeper. Chair. Postage machine supplies, ink cartridges, 2 colors, black and red labels. Maintenance supplies, paper towels, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, trash cans, shredder liners, and deposit slips ordered via the bank is $700. $4,760 for that. Postage box 310, annual rental fee is $150. Postage for administration for mail for outgoing checks, and $2,500 annually is $2,020.
These numbers aren't adding up.
Peg, Aaron?
Yeah,
Peg.
those numbers are not adding up either.
Where are you?
Postage,
Should be 2177.
Yeah, or 21.
2170.
yeah, and you've got 2,063.
Should have been mixed up. Right, it doesn't. That was one of it. 75 is right. It should be 207075.
Heather, what was that again?
It should be 207075.
If you go 150 in 2020,
That still doesn't add up. It
Yeah.
should be 2170.
2170, sorry. What time of day? Been one day, guys.
We will give you the 75 cents, or we will take it off. But, so just for clarity for everyone, that figure in the bottom right-hand corner should be $2,070
No,
each.
2,170.
$170.
2,170 and no cents. No cents. Okay. 2170 point, as Lisa used to say, 00. Next.
Vehicle fuel for the town vehicle, $600.
okay, can I ask you why when we haven't spent? Now, we still got some time left, I guess.
You do have some time left. I have to budget because I don't know how that's gonna
Yeah, all right.
change. We could have, right now, not many people are using it, for the daily deposits. That could change.
But technically, we still have 2 more months to go.
We have 2 more months to go. If more people utilize the town vehicle, so I had to budget for what may happen in the future of next year. Right now, we have different things going on with the vehicle as to who's using it and what they're using it for. We'd like to utilize it more, so that's why we budgeted that way. Vehicle maintenance. Last year we under budgeted for that, and another department had to take some of the costs for that. That vehicle is getting older, and it needs more work. As anybody knows who has an older car, the vehicle is having some problems.
Well, according to what I'm looking at, Heather, it says last year we budgeted 2,000, and there's still 2,000 remaining.
That on the vehicle,
Yeah, line 740.
740. I know that.
That's
See,
equipment maintenance, not
I'm
vehicle
sorry.
maintenance.
All right,
I was gonna say, 'cause
All
I
right,
got
I
called
was-
up and say, we're gonna cover your vehicle.
I was going down the thing here.
It's 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30. I was going down one after another here. so.
Okay, no, the vehicle maintenance definitely needs work, and
Okay.
another department had to pick it up so we could get it done, but as the vehicle ages, we expect for it to
So
go up.
maintenance is up there.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, we overspent that.
$12 to register.
It's gotta be old.
What?
It has to be old.
It's an old vehicle, it was an old police car, so. Equipment maintenance. Okay, copier office equipment meeting repairs are not covered by contract would be,
Okay, so that's the one I was saying that we haven't spent any money out of it this year.
no.
So you reduced it to 1,200.
Mhm. Yeah, we did reduce it to 1,200. And the board reduced it to 1,200.
Because the backup I see here says 1,700. I mean 1,800. I'm sorry. Can't even read it. Look at the other one.
So it's approved, you lost,
You reduced it to 2,000.
yep, yep.
And that is for the computer and office equipment needing repairs and covered by contract, and the phone equipment. The big thing about that is your telephone, if one of our phones go down, our phone is pretty old, phone system is old, so anything could happen on those phones. So if we have to have one of them fixed, it could be $600. So that's why we had to budget for that.
So the computer and office equipment line was dropped to 1,200 at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and the next line stayed at 800, leaving a total of 2,000 for that line.
Well, my backup says 1,800. Line 740, correct?
740.
Yeah, it says 1,800 on the backup I'm given here.
That, probably because it wasn't updated after the Board of Selectmen changed it.
Okay.
Which one, do you have this?
Okay.
I think you
Well, I got everything, but I'm trying to read the backup and go down this.
I
And,
think
On
we're trying to
the,
give you different things.
on the
Yeah.
front, from the front
Stan, that first line for computer and office equipment, That was reduced to 1,200. And then you add the
800.
phone maintenance to
Are
800.
you looking at the default, Stan, by any chance?
I don't know, could be. I got so much stuff here. Usually we have the year-to-date in the same paperwork as the budget proposal, so that we can see everything right, shoot across the line. But we'll get through it.
Then, anyway, conclusion. On the piece of paper that I'm looking at, it does have $2,000 in the right-hand side for equipment not covered within contract. And that's the number that we are in agreement with, yes? Okay. Stan, did that?
I don't know, I'm still seeing 2,600 on this other paper, so doesn't show.
That was my request, was 26.
That was her request, and the board changes, so the paperwork that you have, Stan, right there,
It's not up to date.
Okay.
was the original paperwork that was submitted to the board of selectmen, and we made a change to that line.
So,
And that never got.
does it help, and am I right myself, that when you read the backup justification, it's based on your request? The backup justifications go with your request to the selectmen. The cover sheet shows the approved number.
Yes, I think it does. That's
Yes.
what I figured.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
That-
Should say 2,000 right next to the 2,600 though.
It does, under the BOS approved.
Yeah, but if you go back to the backup stuff, it still says 2,600.
Yeah, my
So-
request and then the vote.
Yep.
So the backup supports her original request, it wasn't changed, or what the board of selectmen
So,
changed.
Right.
on the front page, 2,600 slides down to the 2,000, which is the budget. That leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Just need a secretary to get through.
seven items left.
Okay,
Onward.
all right, we will. Okay. Equipment purchase. Okay. Equipment purchase. Okay, 2,300. Okay. It's $2,300 for equipment purchase. And that computer hardware, office equipment, printer, monitor, hard drive, keyboard, mouse, calculator, etc. Sometimes we need those things.
Once again, you spent zero out of this year.
We've had a good year. Last year we had a couple of issues happen right at the very end of the year. So hopefully that won't happen again. But I know last year, literally right at the very end of the year, we had a problem with a monitor and a hard CPU unit. So if we don't spend it, we don't use it. You know that, Stan. I'm the last one to say let's go spend money if we don't need to. So the next line is equipment lease. Leaf funding, rental one, instead of, we're gonna go down to one color copier, which is cheaper, and it's a rental one copier, at 189 times 12, which is a reduction over what we currently have, and hopefully it would be more efficient. So that brings that line to 2268.
Tom.
Got a question. So you've got the lease for that copier and the equipment lease line there, but yet then you also have Seacoast Business under contract services one copier. Is it for the same copier?
It is. It drove me crazy when I was doing it, Tom, because I'm like, why do I have to pay for it twice? Because you have to pay for the you pay for the leasing of it. That's who finances it. And then for the maintenance and for the paper and for all the copies, that goes through Seacoast Business Systems. So
Okay.
it's two different charges.
Okay. So it's like the contract services is the consumables for it,
Right,
and the lease is the hardware.
the hardware.
Okay.
That's
all
what
right.
I kept saying. It looks like I'm paying for this twice. I was like, this doesn't work
Okay,
right.
so the true cost for that copier then would be basically,
Add them both together.
yeah, basically like $300 a month.
Okay.
Next thing to it.
One pair of
Okay.
pants, two pockets.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
gotcha.
instead of having two of them, we're going to one.
Okay.
Because I kept thinking, this sounds like we're paying a lot when I started looking at it.
Okay.
Mileage and travel for myself, bookkeeper, training meetings, court errands, that's $750. Membership and dues. Foster's Daily Democrat newspaper is $300. New Hampshire annual membership for Town Managers Association and managers $3,988. Line 860, employee functions. Board of Selectmen paid $200. Bank charges $60, and miscellaneous is $625, and that counts for funerals for flowers for town officials, employees estimated at 5 funerals a year, hopefully. We never use that money. Refreshments for joint meetings when needed with state and county multiple officials, plaques, certificates, employees, board committee members, and 2 plaques. So that's a total of $625.
Okay.
So,
Then, giving the grand total as computed by the selectmen for town administration would be $285,323.19. Questions on the entire presentation are open. And beginning with Bob Carrier.
I'm concerned about the legal services. It doesn't take a whole lot to accumulate cost. In 2016, I was looking at the December one for 1 month. That was for $4,000. Now, I realize they don't spend it all, but these lines were never, ever touched by the selectmen or the budget committee. And now we reduced it. If I remember the video, you have a lot of going on pending, and we still have 2 months left. I don't know what it is, but I am concerned about that. There was a line, at one time, at 2016, that budget was going to $40,000, and it got trimmed down to 35, but it has not been touched. To me, I think that should be level funded. The other concern I have...
I'm sorry, a level funded at what number?
35.
At 35. And it has gone down to?
33,500.
Okay.
The other thing, training, is a concern. This year, I've never seen so many going to training, and I know the expense report doesn't show it yet, but it's going to show, because you've had, I don't know how many people go, and you...
Conference is next week.
And you got several people going. What you have for the budget was, I don't have it.
900.
Okay, but she was asking for 11.
She's asking for your training, 1,055.
I think you should stay there because there are a lot of people, a lot of classes going on, and people have to be taken because there's more interest now than ever. The budget committee has also sent people, and we never did that since 2014. So, and I haven't seen it yet on our expense report, but it's going to show. This is just my concern, Mr. Chairman, just to put that back to where it was, because it does show only $100, but not everything is in yet.
Second question from Dennis.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's pretty decent, but in 2017, on the salary full-time, salary part-time, the combined total was $110.7 thousand. How did you come up with a number of 107,881 to be also approved? And that's a substantial cut. What was cut? You went from part-time and full-time to strictly full-time, and somehow you managed to save. How? I'm just curious.
Because
There's a difference in the contract, or contract.
there's a difference in my contract.
And in the backup it said, there is,
We don't have the part-time administrative assistant that was in that line.
That was $6,000.
and that includes a full-time bookkeeper now,
Mhm.
in the backup, or yeah.
Right.
Do,
So wouldn't that actually make that more expensive than?
does that, if I'm wrong, tell me, and Nick Marique in the back has another comment. Does this represent that seesaw of time offered by Joanne as well? Is that
Joanne's in
there?
here.
That
And
is
that,
also
not in that
there.
line.
No, she's in,
Right,
Yeah,
she's
she's
in
lower.
contract services.
In contract
Right,
services.
so this line, full-time salary line, is just you and the full-time
Bookkeeper.
bookkeeper. That will be a town employee.
Nick Marie, did you have input on
I
that?
missed the beginning of Dennis's question, but I think it had to do with how do you add a full-time position and not increase?
Yeah,
the budget?
basically.
It's currently budgeted as a full-time position.
It is. Sorry.
It was full-time last year.
It was full-time.
It's full-time, it was full-time this year, it just wasn't staffed full-time, it was budgeted full-time. So there's really it's not an added position, it's continuing on as a full-time position.
It's always been budgeted.
So just
So,
I'm sorry, for simple math, if it's 40 hours at $20 an hour, it's going to be more than 40 hours at $15 an hour. And the difference in salary could be part of that. A difference in a salary could be part of that for explanation. Sorry to cut you off, Tom. Yes.
apologies for speaking out of turn.
Oh,
I think what it is, Dennis, is like Nick said, the position was budgeted full-time already. So that's already rolled into the 2017 number. What got eliminated was the part-time position.
Okay.
So
I just-
when you look at the increases of the salaries over the half year and all that, I think you'll see that is where what the difference is. It was the elimination of the part-time position, and the full-time salary numbers went up because of the increases in salary over the half year and things like
I
that.
thought it was the salary position that was folded into
Yeah,
the full-time.
yeah. It took me a minute to figure that out. Yeah,
Okay, I get that.
yeah.
Okay.
So-
Any, Sean, a question?
Thank you. I do have a question. If we're eliminating the salary part-time, why is there an line item in there?
$1.
Why?
Because you keep that line open.
Just
You
to
always,
keep the line
you
open
always
in
keep the
case.
line open in case.
Just in case.
Just in case something happens, you have to hire part-time for something, you have a line expenditure out of. It's for,
Emergencies type of thing?
well, whatever the case may be, but it's good bookkeeping.
Okay.
For, I'm sorry, maybe to hit the nail twice, for municipal budgets and for DRA requirements and for raise and appropriate, you have to have a line into which to put the money. And if you have a zero line, you can have the best justification in the world, you ain't going to put no money in it.
You're not gonna take no.
Right, and that, I guess, I understand the rationale for it, but I was just wondering, like, if something's eliminated, in my mind, elimination is
Yeah.
not one, it's
I know.
bagel,
It's just
right?
a bookkeeping.
You figured it out.
Then again, my wife's the finance major, not me.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, every year I do this, so I'll do it, continue this year, is, for the minutes, it's, this budget, proposed budget is $12,067.07 over the 2017 approved budget.
And that represents a percentage change of
4.4, going to Sean. I didn't do that part.
And it also
Let's do that in your
noted
head.
that 11,545, that belongs to one line.
But it's a bottom line budget,
I know.
Okay.
What was that
Then-
percentage?
4.4.
And I
Thank
need the
you.
number.
12,067.07.
Then,
What was the percentage again?
4.4.
And then
You can be right on that percentage, there, buddy.
Double checking right now.
then, just to round off the discussion on the presentation of the town administration budget, follow-up questions from my left. Aaron? Peg? Tom?
I don't know that we'll know the answer to this question, but it looks like to me that total for travel, we've got $2,362 in the budget. That's mileage that we're accounting for, that's vehicle maintenance, that's vehicle registration, and vehicle gas. If we did not have the vehicle, do we have an estimate of how much money we would be spending for mileage?
A lot more than
a
that.
lot, yeah, I don't have an exact figure, but a lot more than that.
Yeah, if you go, I mean, you could go back to, I mean, we've had that car for what, two years now, or 3 years?
It would be, because people ask, why do we have the cars not being, it sounds like you were reducing the amount for gas, sounds like it's not being used. We could have and maybe when it's presented to at the town meeting, says, hey, having the car, if we did not have the car, based on these costs, we would be spending an additional $4,000 over the what we have budgeted right now for travel expenses.
Yes. Does anybody have a clever phone that can tell me what the New England AAA gives as the cost of ownership per mile for a vehicle?
What do you mean, cost of ownership?
I think it's 54 cents.
I think that's what I've claimed this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
That's right.
I just get a company vehicle.
then, I have no question. Sean,
Thank you, Heather.
other question?
I'm good.
Stan.
Thank you. We're just so having a full-time bookkeeper, which we have it budgeted anyway, but we're gonna go up 12,000 in that department. Dollars per year.
Dennis. Okay.
This is less than, this budget will be less than the default budget, just so you know that.
Okay. If that wasn't clear, this budget comes in at what figure compared to the default? I can read it myself. The default
You want the number?
budget for, I'm sorry, I'm not reading it. Oh, the selectmen's budget is what final number?
Oh, we've got to add some and subtract some, because there are a couple of errors.
There was a couple hours.
Yeah.
I just noticed that. I'm saying this don't look right.
That in $100 or
Actually, that is the
$500
same number that
jumps, would you give
I
me?
believe it is, but I don't have a tape. I like to have a tape.
Yeah.
292,323.19 is what I like, but I like to have a tape is what I'm coming up.
So,
That's what I come up with the BOS.
So what's the total now, the new number?
I come up with 292,323.19.
Did we add something?
I have this, remember we said it was.
Oh, that's right. Something was wrong and something was right.
The 2,179.
I think.
Yeah, but there was something else, because that's not,
you didn't use.
and then,
Okay, the discussion point is, one, the town administration budget is subject to small corrections for errors of math. The default budget, as given by the selectmen for 2018, do I have the correct number as 287,578?
That's correct.
Okay,
But the new budget the Board of Selectmen is proposing is 292,000 now?
no. What was the big jump?
That's $7,000 increase from what?
Yeah. Heather, what was the one that was changed? The only one that I wrote down was the 2170, and it was a minor one.
It's postage.
That was postage, but there was another
So there's some
change,
math errors.
another math error that somebody else found.
then.
Who wrote it down?
Is it fair to say we have the default number
107.
and the selectmen's budget will be recalculated, the math will be rejiggered, and it will come back to us when we meet on next Tuesday. Is that a fair statement?
285.
All right, what, 285?
All this additional is correct.
All right, so 285.
285,430.19.
Playing too bad of a job.
285,430.19.
19. And the
Okay.
default is 287.
Yeah.
578.19.
So that's $12,174.07 over 2017. 12,174.07 change over 2017.
So it's about $110.
Yeah, so we're probably about 4.4%.
Hey, and I'm sorry, what was that default number again?
Now, the default number is 287 578.19.
It's right here, Bob, on this paper.
Okay. All right, right now, I'm just taking minutes, I just can't look at anything.
Oh, Bob.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Then, it is
Where is our
5 of
secretary?
7. That takes care of what I presumed is the substantial presentation of a multi-page town budget. The next topic would be insurance and benefits.
Thank you,
which
Heather,
we,
and Selectmen.
Presented by Heather.
Okay. We're gonna start with health insurance,
Yes.
the big one.
Fun things.
Okay, let me catch up on the budget. Where it is in the budget.
Insurance, okay, the paper I have is insurance and benefits, which carries the
You want to talk about this budget
the
here?
2018 request line, bottom right-hand corner of 756, 4231.
What I'm talking about is year-to-date, Larry.
And that's okay, I want to have that one there. And Stan has found the other page.
I haven't found nothing yet.
Oh, okay,
I'm looking.
well,
I could buy it.
this one down.
Insurance and benefits is line page 4.
Page 4? Okay, so I started from there. So page 4 on the year-to-date, the budget expenditure?
Isn't it the expenditure report?
Do you have
Yep.
This one.
116?
Oh,
Since
okay.
I didn't bring them.
42,
What?
3,
Somebody had it.
4.
Because I took them.
Okay. Then,
And I didn't. Yep, right here.
Heather, please start.
Okay,
Okay,
I
I'm,
gotta,
yeah, got my standard phrase, I have a black 6 on the red 7. Was the
Thank you.
okay. The town offers some health insurance for employees, obviously. Right now, the current bill is looking at an 8% increase, which is what I'm projected to budget for. We don't have final numbers yet. It is, I'm looking at, and also I have to look at what our buyout is. Our buyout is $3,200 a year. I have to budget for an additional full-time employee, and one full-time opening exists townwide. When I look at this, I have to think about a life change, because where we do offer a buyout, that means that maybe somebody who's a full-time employee is on their spouse's plan, or something else is going on. But if some life change happens, their spouse's employer loses their job, something happens, then you have to consider that, and then we'd have to pick them up. So that would mean that it would occur, and we'd have to budget for them to have a family plan. The family plan at this rate would be $27,293.76 for the first of the year. So, with the 8% increase, the total would be $502,452.76. We got dental insurance. I'm looking at dental insurance, $2 monthly average, times 6% increase, times 12, $23,931.03. Just, I will say that employees do contribute, new employees are contributing 20%, and employees do contribute to the health insurance. Retirement required, increase in participation in retirement. We do have people participate, and unfortunately the costs of retirement are required. Town has to pay more, $91,583.52. Life insurance is $650. That's based on the number of employees that we have. Unemployment insurance, $5,752. We had an increase in premium estimate this year. We have had several people apply for unemployment this year. Workers' comp is $60,520. Those numbers have come in, and those are accurate. Unemployment, workers' comp, and property insurance are all for next year. Those are the accurate numbers. And then property insurance, $67,153. We've had an increase in number of claims.
Can I ask you about that? You say you had 0 in 2016, but 3 in 2017. But year-to-date, we've spent $950.26.
On which one? Insurance deductions?
property insurance deductions.
Then I need to talk to our bookkeeper because I know of 4 now that it should be titled in there.
Because this is all it's showing year-to-date, is showing $950.26.
And I need to have that line examined.
Okay.
Because I can tell you of 4, the most recent one should not have been in there. It might be the 950 because it was just under $1,000, but we pay the first $1,000.
Right. It shows us still having remaining over $3,000 out of the budget.
So the first those first 3,000 should have been gone by now. But then this recently I know of almost 900 change. But we pay the first $1,000, and then that's where our plan comes in. And hoping everybody doesn't have any more accidents. Well, I never want anyone to have accidents, but for the rest of the year, because I budget for 4.
Okay, you mentioned,
Dennis?
you mentioned there's actually a couple of unemployment insurance claims.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work in a municipality when we need everybody we get? How does that work in a town where you need everybody you can get?
It does. Well, I'm surprised by some. Something I didn't expect. I was kind of surprised. Some of them, actually, one of them goes back over a year. Somebody was let go, and then we got hit with this claim. We do have insurance pay for it, but I just got hit with it.
Then,
Peg has a question.
Peg.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the dental insurance, going from 12,800 to 23, almost 24,000, almost doubling. And it's just a 6% increase. Did you have a lot of people that you've hired that are now taking dental insurance?
The dental insurance, we know that there are some corrections that need to be made in that line, so there are some adjusting entries that have to be made. That's one thing I was talking to our finance director when she comes in. They need to go, but I took the bill to when I did my budget, as opposed to what's in this.
So even though the budget last year was only 12,800, to date you've only spent 11,733, and there are more.
Still 2 months left.
We've still got a couple, and then
Okay.
we've got 3 months' bills haven't come in yet.
Okay, all right, phew. No, it just seemed like a huge jump.
Well, that's a 6% increase, but by 12 months, though.
No, I know, but it still is almost a double
Yeah,
the increase.
That would be more like a 49% increase.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
We've had
49.5.
Right, it's even more than that. If you double, you're talking about, yeah, it'd be almost 100% increase.
We've had that line, we
True.
keep seeing lines.
So if I might ask a question. Did I hear you say that the 1881.37 was your average from of what bills you've received so far?
Which line are you talking about?
On the dental insurance. Yeah, I thought I heard you say that the 1881.37, or maybe I inferred you said that, was the basically average, because the numbers work out. The numbers you have written there work out to be 23,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 1881 is what you came up with looking at the bills that you've received.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay, so you could look at that as being an actual number plus the increase.
Mhm. So that's why we need to
Okay.
fix that line.
Okay, so as presented, it's $35,147.97 over 2017, which represents a 4.875% increase for the overall budget. You got that, Bob?
No, I don't.
35,147.97, and then 4.875.
Yep.
Then, same process. Follow-up conclusion questions. Erin?
On the
Peg,
dental.
anything else?
No, just even looking back, I mean, never mind. The dental was a lot lower budgeted, and I don't know what the actuals were prior to this year, so.
Tom?
I'm not sure yet.
Bob, do you have a question, or would you like me to come back to you at the end?
No, all set.
Sean?
Yeah, this is more for my personal understanding. Is this for all the town employees or just for this building?
All town employees, all employees in the town who are eligible for any benefits,
Thank you.
which is full-time.
Stan?
I'm all set.
Dennis?
Good.
Good?
Under the assumption that next time we meet, that all lines are corrected.
Yeah, Bob, did you have a comment?
No.
No, okay. Then, picking up on what Stan said, one of the really effective, almost say great uses of the Budget Committee is for exactly what you're seeing happening for those errors in math, for those misplaced lines, and for our duty, which is to make sure that the expenses are as low as they can be for the services that are being provided. And so when we come back, we've reviewed all of the topics, then we expect the select will be looking at all the questions that are asterisked and have tighter numbers that will be the final, as opposed to the temporary final. Next topic.
Moderator.
Again, Heather will speak to the Office of the Moderator. Michelle Beauchamp is also sitting in the rear. Do you have any input for the Moderator as it affects you, or will Heather cover that?
No, sir. Oh, dear.
Thank you, Madam Beauchamp.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. The moderator's budget. Moderator's salary elected is to increase to accommodate 3 elections, $525. Moderated election officials, $2,434.08, increase to accommodate 3 elections. Supplies, $300, and equipment maintenance, $825.
You get the percentage.
Peg.
What are the 3 elections? I'm just aware of 2, March and November.
September, there's one.
You have a primary. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Thank you. Keep glaring at me.
Any other question on the Moderator? So for Bob's convenience, the final number for the Moderator's budget is.
I have 408.
You probably think I heard you.
I like to run it. I got 408.
408.
408.
Okay.
I want to see us try to do that again.
Okay, for the minutes, Bob, you ready? It's $1,261.36 over 2017 budget, and it's 0.45% increase.
And
Okay, one more time, Sam.
1261,
Yep.
36 cents, 0.45% increase.
A point 4.5. No, 4.5.
4.5%, sorry.
Thank you. Phew.
Hey, he's doing the percentages. I'm just trying to read them.
Wait a minute.
I wrote it down correctly.
No.
okay.
Oh.
Yes, Tom.
I double check that percentage again. That's increased from
Back to my
2017.
left-hand man here.
Oh, so he's,
So 3,000 to 4,000 is not a 4% increase.
1/3.
Yeah, if you look at 2017 was 28, ran that up to 3. 2018 4084, ran that down to 4.
Can't hire good help no more.
Take
4.083.
How much is it?
4.083.
Okay.
No, you're
Never
lower than
mind.
I was.
I
Or
know.
Sean was.
the difference is 1261.36, right?
1261.36 is what I came up with.
Divided by 28, 22.72. It's 0.4468597665
Yeah.
Yeah, times 100, right?
times 100 for a percentage. Correct.
It was 44.7.
That sounds more like
Yes.
that.
Sorry.
Oh, my God.
That's right. Worth every dime, worth
Could we
every
round
penny.
that up by any chance to
I
4.5?
want some math major.
That's right.
Even,
Thanks,
even,
Tom.
the- even the
Yeah,
chair,
no problem.
even the
That's-
chair was getting nervous on that one. Okay, we have
Just
the
be clear with it,
percentage.
just be clear with it, 44.7.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And we please add an increase driven by our voting obligations. Okay, moderator, Heather, you are done with that. Are you involved in any of the other presentations?
Yeah, one more.
One more. Could you do that one, please?
Uh-oh.
Which one is it then? If we're not going in line yet.
Cemetery.
Oh, it is the next
Oh,
one.
you're doing cemetery.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
all right,
This one's hard.
Saw John here.
Get the math here. What's our current spending?
That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to be year to date.
Cemetery.
Because it's not in the front this time, it's like over here. Well, yeah. What page is it on, the final?
I don't see it.
You don't see it in here?
It's here somewhere.
I had cemetery myself.
There.
Planning board, ZBA, constitution. Solid
We've lost
waste.
the cemetery.
You find it? No one found it?
It's recreation cemetery.
No.
I got it.
What page?
Oh, you looking on the...
Cemetery. I'm looking for the expenditure report. We're looking
Page
for it.
5. Page
2017.
5, just under government building.
Page 5?
Yeah, under government buildings above police.
Is that, oh my, you know what, it doesn't say anything.
It doesn't say
I've
anything.
always wanted what CM stood for.
CEM. Okay, so cemetery.
I only found it because I looked at the account number.
So it's
That was a smart thing to do.
0 over 2017.
Okay, does everyone have the budget and backup they want for discussion? Heather, yes
Hi.
please.
You got me. Okay. Cemetery trustees, 2018 proposed budget. Okay. As you know, the cemetery trustees have a $10,000 warrant article that was issued several years ago, or I think it was last year. So, their proposed budget is a total of $10,000. Town cemetery maintenance is 2018 request, $6,000. New line item administrative cost was $4,000, making up a total of $10,000. The $4,000 administrative cost salary for part-time stipend for whoever is assigned to that work. This will not be paid from the cemetery expendable trust fund at the end of the year.
Don't worry, Sean, I can figure this one out. It's 0% increase. Takes the hard work.
I wanted a chance to play.
Good job, Stan.
Gonna get the golden award.
That a boy.
That a boy award.
Attaboy. I could have done that one myself. But, okay. This, I would just, the part-time salary or stipend is going to be a person who is office-based or field-based.
I believe it's going to be office-based,
Okay.
or somebody who's already working for the town, is what I understand.
Okay.
I think the details have been worked out yet.
That, to the degree it's comfortable, if the dash office were added to that line, to just, so that it's not, so we know that it's not a grant administration cost, but it's an item, a person. Any other discussion? It is a pleasure to see how the cemetery has developed as a town cemetery out of the, I'll use the technical phrase, mishmash of cemeteries and burial grounds and graveyards that we dealt with Gordy Manis, with John, and with Brian, working together. Is Bruce Woodruff working with you?
Yes, he is.
Yes. Together, they have really improved the quality of service. And John Catwick for the cemetery in the back row. Sir.
Yes, I would like to add to this so everybody will be more familiar with this in the future. This is a new line because of the town coming now having a public cemetery, which they never had before. And unfortunately, the cost is going to go up for administrative costs because of me doing volunteer work since back in the early 60s. It's going to affect in the future now because I'm going to get to the retirement stage, and this is all going to have to be discussed in the future. But right now, the way I've got it set up financially for the cemetery for the town of Milton is at the end of the year, basically we'll spend up to about 50% of the fund of the $10,000 for 2017. Whatever that number is for maintenance only, will be reimbursed back to the general fund from the Cemetery Expendable Trust Fund that was also on a warrant article. And the Milton Mills Cemetery Association, when they donated their cemetery to the town of Milton, donated also up to close to $30,000. And that's them earning money all the time. So it's a self-sufficient business for maintenance only. But now we're going to be addressing administrative costs in the future. And this is the start of the 4,000.
Where I know you have been working on a computer system for identification, et cetera, et cetera.
We are in the process right now of reviewing 4 of them. We've completed 1, and now we're going to do the other 3. There's money allocated on 2017 to purchase the software of a total cost of $3,000. I'm having that money encumbered because we're not going to make the deadline by the year end.
Good. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
That does. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you again. Any question on cemetery funds? Aaron Page? Tom?
More for my own edification and elucidation. What sort of things are covered by the administrator? What does the administrator who would be covered under the administrative costs, what would they be responsible for?
I'll give you one quick answer for that, but there's many of them. It creates hundreds of hours every week, basically. Right now, especially coming into November, everybody that has perpetual care on a particular grave site, whatever the earnings are, you have to calculate the actual cost per year for that one individual. And there's close to probably 500 private funds that we calculate every year.
Okay.
Depends on how much you put into it for labor, then you take it from the income, if there's enough income, and if there's not, they just don't get the money, so it's made up with a sale of lots and stuff.
Okay, all right, so it's basically you're administering doing the business of the cemetery.
That's right.
Essentially, okay.
That's
all right.
Exactly right.
And the bookkeeping is excruciatingly detailed. I'm being humorous, but you're practically having to decide whether you get a geranium with 3 flowers or 2 flowers, depending on how much is in that perpetual care account. It's a difficult work. Thank you. Does that any other questions down the line on cemetery? Nope. Planning and code. Heather, does that end you, or are you going to?
Yes.
That
Sorry.
are the selectmen comfortable sending their employee home, or do you wish to stay for the rest of the party?
Here. I have other things to do.
Oh, okay.
Planning and code's on page 7 in the expenditure report. Anyone wants to know?
Can I sit over somewhere else?
That is appreciated.
Okay.
Here.
I did it right last time, I just read it wrong. The
Give
math
me a look.
Wouldn't you get yours to do 0?
I don't know, I've got one on that
Hold
one.
up, Nick, up for a second. Is that okay?
All right.
Be right back.
Okay. Then, good night. Thank you. Thank you, John. Next is planning and code, which are the ZBA, the health officer, the planning board,
No ZBA.
No ZBA?
No ZBA.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's separate elected office, my mistake.
Yeah.
Well, you give your own description.
Okay. Basically, our increases this year are mostly in the wages. We have an increase in the full-time line salary, which is $5,383. The clerk received a raise this past year, and this new increase comes with the COLA and the possible 2 merit for 6 months. Overtime line, the land use clerk works 3 boards, and she's, before they would swap hours out, there's just not enough time in the day to do that anymore, so we had to put a line in for overtime. And that's an increase of $319. The part-time salary, which is myself, and with the COLA and the possible merit, it's an increase of $1,400. And of course, the FICA is up $418, Medicare is up $97.
Oh, all right, that's not what's
Okay.
on this page.
Art?
I'm just looking at the salary part-time.
Excuse me?
Your backup versus what's in the front. There's, well, maybe not, okay. Your backup says 1043. And you just gave me another, or gave us a different figure, so.
Maybe a different, more of an accounting question, a budget question, but on the overtime, where the land use clerk is being used for meetings other than planning and code, wouldn't those budgets reflect?
She does planning, she does ZBA, she does conservation.
That one's
So
correct, you just
wouldn't
gave us a different number.
Particular departments pay for that
We,
service?
no, we keep it just under the 1.
So Dennis's question is, are they separate for expenses for conservation, or is it separate for expenses for ZBA? And you are,
That all comes under land use clerk.
Regardless of,
Yeah, because they're all zoning boards land use.
still, okay.
Conservation is land use.
okay.
Yep, okay, that answered?
Yep.
Okay, then, I did not, Peg, did you get your question answered?
Yes.
You're still in process?
No, it was the correct number on the front and the back, but it sounded like you gave us a different number, so sorry, Brian.
I did it on purpose.
But,
Oh, well, thank you, just to make us check, all right.
It's getting late, we have to.
Keep going on the
Yeah,
Hey, you kept me on my toes.
The next line is training.
but
This page-
hang on one moment, Tom?
The salary full-time line, last year was 31,777. This
Yep.
request is 37. I saw in the backup you said that includes this year's request includes the raise from 2017, but no matter how I work the numbers, I can't come up with how the increase went from 31 to 37,000.
Because you received an increase in 2017.
And how much was that?
Uh,
Was that the same 3.7%?
No, it was not. I'm sorry, I don't know.
The question is this an answer? Does COLAs are paid effective July 1st?
This had nothing to do with COLA or merit.
This is 2017.
17.
Yes.
This was a raise that was given by the Board of Selectmen to the town administrator because of the workload that has been put on the land use clerk.
Okay, I think now that you said that, I think I remember that happening. Okay, so that was basically a step, and then, okay, all right, I think I remember that happening now.
That brings us down to which line?
We're now down to 240, which is training. This line has not changed, it's the same as it was last year. These are for courses and training for the planner, land use clerk, and myself. Registry of Deeds, this is used to record some documents for the town, and this has not changed, it's still $25.
Okay.
Contracted services, this is for the line we used to pay the town planner. This includes a possible raise in yearly service fee for updates and maintenance in support of the Avatar building software. The Avatar is another separate unit that we use in the building department to record our building permits. Legal services, this line is used to pay for employment and other notices being placed in the newspaper. This line is still remain the same. Professional services, this line is to pay for software programs in the department and to assist in the permits and office needs. This has increased to $199. We are trying to get the Adobe reader put in. That would be a yearly, every year would have to do the same thing. This helps us combine Word and or any other document to combine into one instead of having to do the Word separate and then this one separate. This will also be used in the printing and the working of the town report.
So the Adobe Acrobat, that's not just the reader, that would also be able to create documents, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Copies and printing has remained the same, $75. Supplies, is for office supplies needed, the land use clerk, code enforcement, and town planner, that's $500, no change. Postage, this pays for cease and desist notices and other required mailings, this line is still the same.
Okay, Brian, but you've only spent to date out of that $46.29. So you still have $203 left out of that budget. I know we're not talking a big amount of money, that one in the next line,
Yeah.
but it's just seems like maybe there could be a little give there. I don't know,
Well,
something to consider.
Let's just, and then the fact we keep it at that is we don't know how many over a year we're going to issue, cease and desist or other notices to be sent out. I mean,
But who sent out the multiple abutter certified mail letters?
that goes under the planning, that's under the planning budget.
That under the planning budget?
That's the
Okay.
next one.
You don't recoup that from the...
Yes.
Yes, that's all,
Oh, you still
that's
have
all
to show
brought
it
back
in the
in.
budget.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Equipment maintenance, this is for the 2 copiers, 1 laptop and 2 printers, this line remains the same. Equipment purchase, this line is for new equipment as needed, again, we put that in there in case we do need it. Mileage and travel, this is $75, it remains the same, this is in case the town vehicle isn't available. We use our own cars, the registered deed, etc. Membership and dues, this is for myself, that's, covers the health officers, dues, ICC, New Hampshire building officials, and all. And that has stayed the same. Miscellaneous is $50, we just keep that, just in case.
Question, Peg?
Yeah, just for my own benefit. Brian, you said you were the part-time
Yes.
person. Who is the salary full-time? Is that person, only because I'm trying to figure out all
Dana,
these
the
departments.
language clerk, is
Dana,
full-time.
okay. Thank you.
Brian is Dana's executive assistant.
I see.
That's right, yeah, I work for her.
You know, that usually works that way. I like that.
I have no choice to win, it's all women, don't
Any question, Tom?
Brian, if, for example, you had to go out to inspect a property, do you use the town vehicle for that, or?
If it's available, yes.
Okay, because I noticed you've only got $75 for travel, and I'm assuming, would that cover your travel? Because here you specifically call out the land use clerk.
If I use my own vehicle to go out of town on something like that, I would put in for mileage for that.
Okay, so it would come out of that line?
Yes.
Okay.
But if the town vehicle's available, I would use that first.
Okay.
And is there anything specific to you as health officer that should be noted differently?
No.
No? Okay, that's covered under training and...
Right.
Right. Okay, any other question on the totals for planning and code?
No, but I have another dumb question.
Hey,
Why
This
are you
is-
asking it?
Pardon?
If it's so dumb, why are you
there's a
asking
second
it?
dumb question.
Thank you. Okay, this is planning and code. I mean, I know what you do, Brian. I know the building inspections and this and that and whatever. But then we have a planning board
Right.
that I know decides that, yes, we're gonna maybe approve that or not, but it's gonna go through the zoning board, and why are you the planning and code, or code and planning?
He sits on both. He's the
I'm saying on the planning board.
So should this just be the code?
No, no, no.
Budget?
It's two different budgets.
Yeah.
It's a board. The planning board is a board, just like the ZBA and the budget and everything.
Here.
Okay.
Yes, I'll recognize you. In the structure of town government, Brian is a department head. As the department head, he is responsible for preparing the budgets for his operation as code enforcement officer, and the planning board falls under land use. So he prepares that budget as well. It is accidental that he happens to be the planning board chair, but as planning board chair, he would be speaking to the preparation of the planning board budget.
That's not answering my question.
Okay.
But
It's two different, planning, what we're doing right now, planning and code, that's as code enforcement and following up on what the planning board has decided that has to happen.
okay,
That's
because
a separate
that
thing.
part I totally and absolutely
Okay,
understand.
the planning
code
board is no different than what we
enforcement.
are. It's a separate board all its
Right.
own that makes decisions on upcoming town matters.
Right.
All right, so they're two different things, totally apart.
Thank you. So why would this be called
Planning and code.
planning and code? I mean, I can
That's
see it
what
as,
she's getting at.
I could see
Why
the
is
name
it
of this as
Code enforcement.
code enforcement of planning board decisions or something, rather than,
There's an overlap there.
Please write in small neat hand the word enforcement after code.
but I want to take planning out of that, because then we got the
Yeah, but
planning
you
board.
got the town planner in there too.
Right.
Yeah,
Planning
it's
for
multiple
the
things.
town,
There is
so
an
it's
overlap
multiple
there.
things.
Right.
That's why you have an overlap.
I don't see no never mind.
Yes, it's.
Look at line 340, contracted services for town part-time planner.
Okay.
I hope that helps, but.
Does
Yeah,
anyone have
I just figured that was Avatar.
another question on the titles, which are planning and code? Dennis, Stan,
Yeah.
Sean, Larry, Bob, Tom, Peg, other questions? Aaron?
Nah.
All right,
Okay.
Bob, you ready? It's $9,359, 9,359, over 2017. And Sean came up with 10.9% increase.
Just add one
Is
thing
it
to that.
10.9 or should it be 9.8?
Talk to my guy over there.
That,
We brought in almost $30,000 in permit fees this year,
Yeah.
which goes to the general fund.
and the other thing, for planning and code, when you send out a cease and desist order, that is an expense to the code enforcement, or are they required to reimburse you?
No, that's
That is an expense to you.
To us,
Okay.
the
On,
office.
for the planning board, those fees do come back, but they have to go to the general
Right.
fund. So, will you be speaking to the planning board?
Yes.
Okay. Next is the planning board chair, Brian White.
Hey, Jack, you're with it.
Is that John? Come on.
This budget is, well, I'll go over it, then I'll explain the increase. Training, this is for board members to go out.
Hang on for one moment while we,
There we go.
for the fascination of those assembled, would you be kind enough to tell us the wonders you have discovered, Ms. Hurd?
Still in their gum.
Sorry.
That,
We just went over some mathematics to make sure that we both were.
okay, you're both right. Okay.
I think we're both wrong, but that's okay.
With the electronic marvels of the computer and calculator solving the math problems of the world, we'll go back to planning board, beginning at line 4241-240, PB training. Brian.
Budgeted $250, it's the same as we did last year. This pays for any of the board members that want to attend classes, workshops. Public notices is $400. This is the line used to pay public notices required for public hearings by RSA. The line remains the same. This money is reimbursed back into the town through the applicant, and it goes to the general fund. Printing and copies, this is the line for the printing and copies of required documents for land use. It's $100, and remains the same. Supplies, office supplies needed for the planning board, $100, the same. Postage, $200. This line pays for mailing certified notices for public hearing and other required mailings. And this is all reimbursed back to the town through the applicant. Mileage and travel. This is if board members want to go to a conference or something and don't have a town vehicle, this reimburses them. Miscellaneous, $100. This remained open for miscellaneous items that were not planned for and have no line item be placed in. This line remains the same. To that point, the budget is level funded from last year. We've added GIS data sets and map layer, 500. This line is in anticipation if the GIS mapping system is approved at town meeting. This is to purchase data layers and sets for such as zoning maps. We increased it $500.
Any question, Tom?
That is 500 sufficient to purchase the maps and layers that you would want to out of the GIS system? That just, to me, seems kind of low.
Well, what we've tried to do is, we're not going to buy, this is one a year. And I think you'll see that the other departments have added something in their budgets also to add to it.
Okay.
Do you want to, can you speak to the GIS system, or?
I can. I think it's. I think a lot of people, I don't know, seen what this GIS will do. But this is on the computer, and it's you can do everything. You can map out your manholes. You can map out your culverts, your floodplains, lots. When I put the zoning maps, put the lots on them, it's amazing. We're one of the only towns around here without it.
It is also, it has special layers for police and fire, for enhanced 911, and it is so much faster and more complete than sitting there with a stone chisel. It's just amazing.
It is. And it's also will be available to the public.
So it'd be real beneficial for engineering as far as infrastructure projects.
Yeah, everything.
And it also has provisions to opt out for sensitivity, so that not everybody can see the drawer in which you keep Grandma's silver.
Right.
Now, that brings us to anything else on the planning board questions? Okay, Peg, you had half a hand up. Okay, half a hand up. Then, thank you, Brian. Who is doing ZBA?
I am. A planning board is $500 over the 2017 budget, which is 40% increase.
Okay.
All right, so ZBA. As you can see, training stayed the same at $250. Registry of Deeds.
Right in the back row, please.
You tell them, Larry.
Registry of Deeds is increased due to the very active year we have. We figured it'd be another very active year. Public notices are staying the same. Printing and copying is still staying at $100. Supplies is staying at $35, and postage has gone up due to the same active year, and don't see it slowing down. So the new budget would be $1,500, which is an increase of $415 over 2017, which represents a 38.2% increase.
Wow. Are you giving him these figures ahead of time?
He does have to work.
You really did your own work.
So again, as Brian said, with his, the planning board, the ZBA does get majority of this money back from the applicant. Unfortunately, we have to show it as a budget, and we don't have a line to show what comes in. We don't do it that way.
Good.
These
Okay.
38% budget increases.
Tom, you had a question.
You want to zero it out.
Yeah, your registry of deeds number and postage seem to be very specific. 258 and 457.
Right, Dana does the, she's the secretary for the ZBA, and she spent some time and basically took a formula of what we've been doing, what we've been averaging, and she came up with a very,
Okay.
you know.
All right. It just
Wasn't
seems
round-
strange to have, you know,
No.
what looked like very specific numbers in here.
Just the
That's all.
ZBA used to meet probably 3 times a year. I think we've met almost every month this year.
And there have been a couple of months where we've had more than one applicant.
We've had 3 applicants this.
Yeah. They just the numbers, they look specific. I'm just curious how you came up with
Dana
that.
does a great job.
A question to the rear, or possibly Heather. I remember the document fee at about $4 a page at the registry of.
What?
$4 a page.
If you have them copy something for you.
For, to file a papers with
It's
them.
$5.
$4 or $5. That there might be a startup fee and then an additional page fee. Thank you. That brings us to Dale's Sprague.
Which is page 14 on the expenditure report.
Dale Sprague is, what is your title?
I just call myself the plant operator.
Plant operator.
Plant operator. I don't assume the superintendent's position here. I just plant operator. I don't know if the board knows. I'm a contract operator for the town on an annual basis. Town pays me a monthly fee. They don't have to pay any taxes or any retirement or any of those things. So it's a simple contract arrangement with the town. So it's been good for the town, I think, all these years. I don't know if you want me to start in with the.
Would you mention how many years have you done this now?
30.
30. That.
Started when they built, well, just after they built the plant, started up.
Yeah. Yes, please. Would you just go over the numbers that you do have?
Yeah, I don't know if I was listening to the other discussion, but I don't know if you have up-to-date numbers or not, but we'll go through them. First one is contract services. That includes the Avatar software used for the sewer department. And then the rest of that is my annual contract. That number should be 33547, I believe, total. I don't know if you have that or not.
No. What did you say, 3357?
547. That includes the COLA and the merit potential. That way there, the Board of Selectmen redo my, if they decide to renew me for another year, they have the option to give me a raise or they decide that at the time of the renewal. So that gives them the flexibility to make adjustments. So that's 33547 total. The next one down is legal notices. Brought that down $100 this year. We're not spending anywhere near the 200, so I'll continue to bring that down over the next year or two, but reduce it $100 this year. Electric is up this year. I want to, that number should be 14,500. And so that's about a $1,250 change. I know the Board of Selectmen, I mentioned at the other meeting we had about having the ability to go out and purchase power from outside vendor. Currently I don't have that flexibility, but hopefully we'll make some arrangement this year and maybe that'll take place. If they do, we can save a couple $1,000s for the sewer department. But if that doesn't happen, I have 14.5 is probably where we need to be for electricity. Heat, I've been bringing that down, used to be around 5,000, been bringing that down. Basically due to, as everybody knows, reduced cost of fuel, try to minimize the heat at the wastewater. I also do the Charles Street pump station too. They're trying to bring those, keep those heat costs down as much as possible. The water, just a small reflection of the quarterly fixed fee from the water department currently. The telephone, the security, the telephone, there's a couple of alarm circuits that we maintain, and the security is for burns, for monitoring the wastewater plant security and calling out me or other people as needed for emergencies. Your supply line, very consistently over the years, has been about $7,000 for all the lab supplies that I need. That's for all the chemicals that we need to put in there. That's stuff at the hardware store, et cetera, et cetera. So that line has been very consistent, around $7,000 on an annual basis. So I just keep it there. Postage, we're not spending anywhere near the $350. Reduce that down to 100, which more reflects what our expenditures have been in the last couple of years. Buildings and grounds remains the same. Equipment maintenance remains the same. Equipment purchase remains the same. Sewer line maintenance remains the same.
Dale, can I stop you there for a second, please?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's $2,600, but it says you haven't spent any money this year.
Yeah, I'm going to buy that. Well, we cleaned all the sewer lines and stuff last year. Jed and cleaning. I do that every 10 years, make sure they all function properly. I had 3 covers that I found that were cracked and needed to get replaced. I was trying to find. I had a gentleman out of Pittsfield that used to do all the sewer work for Farmington and here, raising the covers, making, fixing them and stuff like that. I don't know, he had some health issues this year and he couldn't make it. So probably should have gone out and tried to find somebody else, but there's not too many people.
So that's not just a placeholder. There is a list.
I'm going to buy this. I got a note on my desk to buy the sewer frames and covers, and then I have a drop inlet over here. Well, just down the road here a little bit that needs to have a repair done. So I'm going to get. So there will be some money expended from that line
this year
before the end of the year.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to find either. Hopefully, I got to come back or find somebody else to actually raise and adjust those frames and covers. So next year. So.
And that is something that has been a long-term, careful review and purchase because Tom Gray and I and the gentleman I forgot were the sewer commissioners when you started I think it was on Silver Street. There were 2 that had crumbled.
Yeah. They're cast iron. They don't last forever. The trucks hit them, they crack and deteriorate. You have to replace them. So it ends up being about 2 or 3 a year. So that's why that line is there, and most of that line will be expended here before December. The next big line is permits and testing. You should see a 2018 budget of $8,000 even. That's for the CMA engineers. The town's required to do a annual report to New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. They're reflecting all of our groundwater information. We have to pass that on to them and make recommendations. That's all the lab testing, outside services. That's the dam bureau fee, toxicity testing, you name it, it's all in there. So, and then a couple of placeholders for mileage and miscellaneous. If something comes up, we have placeholders to put some of that stuff. So, I've never used the mileage, but it's there. So, I think the bottom line is what is it?
84,605 that I come up with.
That's what I got too. So,
which is $1,892 over 2017.
What did you get for a bottom line?
84,605.
Where'd you get that? Do we have changes?
Yeah,
Yes, he
because
gave
the
us the
top
changes.
line was.
Oh, okay,
The
right,
contract
never
services.
mind, it was wrong.
So
Got it.
1892, Bob, which represents a 2.28% increase.
Okay, just that, again,
Right.
percentage, I was,
This
1892?
This is all
1,892.
self-funded from sewer user fees.
2.28%.
Okay.
That,
Did the budget committee get what Mr. Sprague just said? I don't know if you
The
heard
last
him.
line I did not.
You didn't hear him, okay.
No.
There you go.
This budget has nothing to do with your tax base. It's all funded by sewer user fees. That's how it's, has to be structured, and we've been like that.
Well, like the water district.
No. No,
Yeah,
water
your
di-
water district is, if it was town-run, it would
Right.
be, but it's not,
It's
so.
Water district has its own chapter.
Right.
Yeah.
So we, sewer department raises and generates its own revenue. We're about 88 to 90,000 a year in revenue, so.
Yeah. It's similar to the ZBA board and the planning board. They get, the applicants come in, they pay all, you know, but you can't see it as a revenue line. It goes in the general fund. But you have to, for clarity and transparency, you have to have the line showing where it went out to.
that, I know from what I remember hearing your presentation to the board and earlier comments that you have been involved in the care and maintenance of the berm areas, and also what is the fund that will be for the replacement of the lagoon liners?
The fund is a sewer, I don't know if you have it listed as a capital reserve fund, but it's a sewer fund that has, I think, around $500,000 in it right now, which has been revenue that's been collected over and above what expenses have been over the years. Also, anybody hooking up is paying connection fees. We don't have a lot open, but whoever is hooked up has participated and paid into that fund. That fund is specifically set aside for, as Larry mentioned, for if in fact the liners had to replace the lagoons, for any large capital costs, basically, if there was any building structural stuff that needed to get done. One of the things that's probably going to be coming up is some 12-inch valve replacements. That type of stuff is coming out of that specific fund, would not impact this minimal operating budget. So, but that 500,000 is for, you know, a large operations at the wastewater plant. That would be a capital expense.
Thank you.
Just one thing, that is the revolving fund. I remember seeing it in there.
I don't have what the specific name is, but if you look
No.
in the town report, you will see that sewer fund in there.
I've seen it once and I remember the number.
It's in there.
It's in the revolving fund.
So that covers the operation of the wastewater department as a function of the town, the way its monies are collected, the things that it does, the ongoing nature of repairs and treatment of the effluent, and repairs to the manhole covers on the streets, and planning ahead for major capital replacements. Peg.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the sewer line maintenance, Dana, that you upped it to 8,000, but year-to-date expense so far is almost 9,000.
Talk about permits and testing.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, yes.
Yeah, there was, for 2017, CMA increased their annual reporting cost for 2017 over and above 2016, which was not captured in the budget. There was also a one-time fee from CMA engineers to renew a 5-year groundwater permit from DES. So every 5 years, we have to renew that. That was in that overage.
All right, so I guess bottom line is you feel comfortable with the 8,000. Okay,
We're good.
all right.
Those are one-time expenditures. We're done and we're good.
Okay, just so that you know what to set the sewer rate at.
Thank you. Ben, thank you, Peg. Any questions down the line? Peg, you're taking care of Tom? Bob?
Does Dana's fee, does she collect a fee for sending out the bills?
I
Dana Crosley?
don't know anything about that part of it.
talking about as far as her weekly pay?
Yeah, that's what,
Well, I'm sure that's part of her job description, so,
Her job description.
it is part of it, and that, I don't have the thing. in
so
front
right
of me.
now, planning and code is carrying all of her salary, correct? So for transparency, that should be split out to the sewer department, should be carrying 40% or whatever at the time.
I believe that it was the decision of the Board of Selectmen to change her job title to reflect her wider services to the municipal corporation. And sewer came under that iceberg heading.
So it does come under the job duties.
Right, but what he's saying that basically it's like a pyramid and she's up here and it all, everything underneath is what she has to work for.
She should,
Yeah.
kind of like under this umbrella. She's
Okay.
the top of the umbrella and there's a whole bunch of
Then,
things she does.
any question, Aaron? That's all right. Aaron, Dennis,
What was your name again?
Sean.
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
All right.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
That leaves conservation.
Which is on page 8 of the expenditure.
Okay,
Finally.
so this, yeah,
And this would be Steve Panish. You are presently, are you the vice chair?
no,
Sure.
I am the treasurer.
You're the treasurer for the Conservation Commission.
Okay, so this year's budget is 6123, which is a $525 increase over last year's budget and roughly 9.5%. I'll go through the items. First line is training. We always put in some money for training to enable both our new and our old members to go and attend conferences that allow them to increase their skills. And we do have a fair amount of turnover on the board. And actually they're not taking advantage of it as much as would be nice, but we put that money in so that if they do decide they have the time, that they can take advantage of the excellent opportunities that we have available to us. Legal defense is $2,500, that's unchanged. This represents a contribution by the town to the much larger expenditure that the committee has from the conservation fund. And that reflects in part the realization that essentially we're paying a lot of legal fees to take care of problems that were done not by the Conservation Commission, but essentially by the town many years ago in the development process. So there were developments which were ill-advised and lots that were created that were ill-advised, and conservation easements that were granted to developers probably in exchange for something which were ill-advised and not well carried out. So we've had about $30,000 in legal expenses over this past year. We've had 2 lawsuits. We won both of them, but there are continuing expenses. So this line is a very much appreciated addition from the town, which also acknowledges to some degree that the funding mechanism for the conservation fund is not adequate. That is, we are currently funded, the conservation fund is funded by 1/2 of the land use change tax, which is a tax that's collected when a current use property is taken out of current use to be developed. And that's fine if you're in a period where there's a lot of development happening and you have that money coming out of, you have the tax being collected. But we've had virtually no tax collected for the last 10 years because there's been virtually no development. So it doesn't represent a funding mechanism that allows one to plan and budget. So we like the addition, and ideally at some point the funding mechanism from the town will be raised and will to some degree replace the land use change tax. Some towns donate 100% of land.
That's conservation, we have birds
Yeah, I
chirping in
guess
the
it's
background.
appropriate. Some towns donate 100% of land use change tax to the conservation fund. But at any rate, we're happy for what we can get. Next line, professional services, we raised by $500. The biggest ticket item here is water testing of the 3 ponds. But we've also had considerable expenses considerably in excess of this number here that we've taken from the conservation fund to do ordinance updates and maps that are required in one case for the ordinance. The groundwater protection ordinance states in the ordinance that it's shown by a map. It's dependent on this map, but the map was never created. So we've contracted for mapping with Stratford Regional Planning Commission. And we've also contracted with them for a master plan update. A significant part of the town's master plan is the natural resource inventory, which is really what allows the town to plan its land use. So it's a very important section of the master plan. And we thought that it was advisable this time that we have it professionally done. And so Stratford Regional Planning did it. They did an excellent job. They both reduced the size of the text from the older, the 10-year or 11, 12-year-old version. It's been made more clear, and it's conceptually simpler. And it has a great deal of history in it, such as the history of the town's water supply. It's just great reading. I really recommend that everybody read this. I mean, it sounds impossible, but it's actually a good read. And I think you'll. Don't laugh at me, Peggy.
I'm not. Where is it? Where is this book?
Here, but you show 1597 for 2017, and it shows zero money's been expended.
It will be.
So that was going to be my next question. Is there bills that you know that are coming in?
Yeah, at least 2. The big one is the water testing.
Okay, and that's being done by?
It's done at UNH, but I don't actually, TPPA actually handles that, and then they pass the bill to us. And it always happens right around this time. So we'll be getting the bill real soon now. I remember it last year.
So is that money going to TPPA as a donation to their nonprofit?
Pass-through.
No, it's a pass-through. It goes right to UNH for the water testing. It's about $1,500, as I recall.
They stepped up to be on point to handle the details and context.
Right, because they're in contact with those guys and we're really not. They're experts on the town's water bodies, and we're happy to have it that way and be working with them. I just got a $400 bill in, which will apply to that, which actually relates to our lawsuit, but it's professional services. It's not legal. Yeah, actually, I'm surprised that nothing has been taken out of that. I'll have to talk to Dana because it may be a mistake. Printing, we also have not spent printing, but we wanted to have it available. That's for if we do some kind of presentation for the town and we need to print up notices, and the mailing is also for the same thing. We've been so occupied with the lawsuits over the past couple years that we haven't done any of that. But we used to do it, and they were pretty well received by the town. They were very informational. Jim Haney gave a couple talks. They're good. So hopefully this year we'll have time to do it, although the lawsuits although they're done, the restoration work has yet to be started, planned, or accomplished, and that is going to be, well, I hope it's less contentious than the lawsuits, let me put it that way. It's supposed to be done at the expense of the people who lost the lawsuits, but they could always declare bankruptcy and flee, and then the town has to pay it.
Wow.
Membership dues, $600. That's actual cost for the organizations that we contribute to, that we're members of, and they all provide us with services. Oh, sorry, supplies. Last year we took supplies out because we hadn't actually spent any of the money. This year we did spend some money, so we put in $25 minimal fee just to have it available. And lastly, miscellaneous, just $1 to keep that line open. So it's placeholder.
Okay, then, standard. Any questions on the Conservation Commission budget? From Aaron down past Peg, Tom?
Yep.
Bob?
Peg has one.
Okay.
Halfway goes
I'm
up.
sorry, I got to the next name.
The GIS map data layers, and Dana was talking about them. I mean, is it software that you guys could use, share, whatever?
I don't actually know if what Brian is getting is exactly the same as what Stratford Regional Planning Commission uses, but
Was it Brian or was it Dana? I thought it was Dana.
Dale.
Dale, sorry.
No worries.
Dale.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what
Okay.
he
No,
uses.
just curious when I saw both of them.
Well, these maps here are examples of what gets produced, and yeah, I mean, the typical program uses ArcView, which is quite an expensive piece of software and quite difficult to use as well. And yeah, we probably could learn how to use it, but if we did, we still wouldn't have the big plotter printer to do this kind of map. So but the data all resides in the Granite system, which is the New Hampshire State GIS database, and I presume all these things tie into the same database. But
Yeah.
to put it most simply, we don't really want to do that.
Got it.
I just
Okay.
assume pay somebody to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's work, and we'd have to have it printed elsewhere anyway.
Question down past me. Sean?
I'm fine, thank you.
Stan? Dennis?
I'm good.
Okay. Going back to your legal expenses, a very, very rough image that when the planning board accepted easements so that development could be tighter done on the remaining better land, it was, from my mind, a little bit like a series of sawtooths. And to do the easement, you had to sort of go up and down the sawtooth, and if it had been done like a square brick, it would have been a lot easier to enforce the easements, and there should have been better language specifying the costs, the perpetuity, and where the borders were. Does that cover some of the problems?
First of all, let me point out that these happened a long time ago, and there's nobody, as far as I know, on either board, the Planning Board or the Conservation Commission, who was on the boards at that time. So I'm going to diss the Planning Board a bit, but it's the old Planning Board. And well, first of all, I want to applaud their sense of mission, because conservation easements have only been around, the legal groundwork for them was only created in the late 1970s. The easement where we've had the most expense dates, the origins of it were in 1989. And so, these people were ahead of the game, but basically nobody knew how to do them back then. So they were done wrong. They were done wrong in that now it's become the standard for how you behave. It's not legally required, but the standard is that you do a baseline document when you create the conservation easement, so that you know what the lay of the land was like at the time that before the time the conservation easement is created. That wasn't done, and that takes money, and it takes a professional to do it, and it just wasn't done. Then the other standard is that monitoring is done on the property every year, so that if any adverse changes occur, you basically instantly notify the landowner and address it before it's gone too far. So neither of these things were done. However, legally, they aren't required, and since they're not required, if somebody violates the easement, they don't have an out because this wasn't done. And in fact, that was part of the argument of the opposition in these cases. What was done correctly was that the property deeds all have clear language indicating that there's a conservation easement on the property, and they reference a document in the registry, which is a map of the conservation easement area. So that was clear. The biggest problem here, that as I see it, is that some of these lots should not have been developable lots. I mean, they just shouldn't have houses on them. And anybody with any sense wouldn't buy those lots, much less develop them. Well, of course, they were cheap because they were crappy lots. And people did buy them, and they did develop them. And they have problems because they're basically swamps. And I don't think that would happen today, but I certainly hope it would. So secondly, when the lines of the conservation easement were drawn, they cut through multiple properties, and in some cases, including these two substandard lots, they really don't give the kind of room that people expect to have for a yard. But we're stuck, we're stuck with these lines. We can't modify them, or we can't modify them easily. And the only ways that they can be modified are, according to the Attorney General's office, to create a greater gain for conservation. And that's pretty tough to do when you've already not given people a very large area for their lawn, and you're in a swamp.
Thank you. And that is why Steve has been on the Conservation Commission for
A long time.
Long
I've
time.
forgotten how long. It's why my pate is becoming increasingly visible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the board.
Any other questions on the last presentation for the evening, which is the Conservation Commission? Ben,
Mr. Chair?
The Selectman.
Yes, thank you. Since this is a posted BOS meeting, may I have the floor? Thank you.
We will stand in recess.
No, you don't have to.
Okay, well, we will stand and listen.
So anyways, Mr. Chair, thank you again. So we just got some numbers in this evening. So I would like to make a motion to set the tax rate for this year of $25.89, which this is a reduction of $3.11.
Wow.
This arrived at taking $500,000 from the fund balance, which leaves $1,728,256, or 14.02%, which is within the recommendation range of the DRA. So, may I have a second on that approved preliminary rate?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As a homeowner, I'll say aye as well.
That's the good work of the whole town, so that's good news.
Question, are you gonna increase the appraisals of the houses to make up for it?
Mine already did $30,000.
Sorry, Andy, I just,
Okay.
Thank you, Peg.
Okay.
Anytime, Andy.
For the process, we will be back here again on Tuesday evening, same time. That will be November 14th. Tom is still alive. And we will be going over the remaining town departments The library will be there, and police and fire, the two major departments, will also be presenting. Did I leave something?
Assessing, emergency management, and welfare.
Assessing, emergency management, and
No, we'll get treasurer, highway department.
and just a small note, Betsy will be arriving after 7:30 because she has another
On the 14th.
on the 14th. And so are we speaking for our?
You want a motion?
Well, are we comfortable with the process and the information that you received?
To date, right now, yeah.
Okay, so we are holding on our vote until we get the detailed numbers from the town for small errors of math and changes that seem reasonable when we go over them.
Plus,
Okay?
we should make our vote at the end of the whole
We'll make
budget.
our vote at the end of the whole shebang. And if something major happens, and these numbers are still subject to being changed when the deliberative session comes, and we have the structure, we and the selectmen then have the structure to revote, to recommend or not recommend that budget, and the default budget could theoretically change, but we'll know more about that later. Then the last thing to do is thank you for your time. We are 40 minutes ahead of our pumpkin time of 9 p.m. Stan has a motion to make. Adjourn. Second.
We're not gonna finish the items on the agenda?
Oh,
You know, why do I put an agenda together if we're not gonna?
Oh, what was?
Expenditure for the minute?
Excuse me. If
We're gonna have lost the agenda.
I apologize to Bob. I would like this, if you would be kind enough, to retract the second and the vote to adjourn. And I just did not read the rest of the agenda, for which I apologize. Is that agreeable to the?
Let's get to it.
Okay, on the motion to adjourn, would you all please vote nay?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, we are still back. I apologize. I will say at the moment that the paperwork that you had here in front of you, and as prepared by Bob, is the reason that I can sit in the middle and run the meeting. His detailed work is the work of the Budget Committee. I apologize for not reading to the bottom of the page. Then, having finished the department budget presentations, we are now down to the town expenditure report. Would the selectmen and town administrator?
Mr. Chairman, whereas we know there's errors in it, can we table that to the next meeting?
Bob, is there something that you would like to discuss on the town expenditure report?
Well, I know.
No, okay, because we are in the middle of the budget presentations, which review each department budget up through the present date. We do have, and I'm sorry, I read it at home and it went right out of my mind, the budget notes taken by Bob for our meeting of October 17th. The way, just speak to how you set it up, what the red and the black mean.
That's not drawing, that's pegs.
Oh, okay.
She did the corrections. This is a new rule we had. If the members would look at it, if there was any errors, grammar, spelling, or
Okay.
whatever, this is why they're there as corrections.
Then,
You want a motion to accept the minutes with any corrections?
then, if the discussion of the committee is that they are in agreement with the changes, additions, the grammar, the occasional capital W, give the sense of the meeting and are correct, then yes, that motion.
So said.
I second it.
Thank you.
Peg, you said that?
Peg-
Yes, I'm
Peg
sorry, I
seconded
second it.
And the minutes in draft of Tuesday, October 17th can now be printed completely in black, as has been our standard. They will be then noted approved by the recording clerk, Bob, and passed on to the town clerk and posted on our own board. Is that right?
And do you have a change?
No, they have to come in here.
Is your name correct?
I made sure her
So
name was
there-
correct this time.
Then, there is a motion to do that. There is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You weren't here?
Apologies. You're not here?
Did you
I was not here.
want, did you want to add to the discussion?
No,
No, you
he
just
was,
wanted to vote aye. Okay.
Yeah, he was abstaining.
You're
He was
abstaining,
not,
you
he was
weren't
not
there.
here at that
Fine.
meeting.
Is there any other, does anyone else have any other business that come before the board? I do have one. Anyone else? That I had a discussion with, as you know, my number is at the bottom. Very few people have taken me up on the offer. One person did. They had a concern about the town administration budget in terms of how the professional services contract were impacted by the addition of part-time clerk. My response was that I would bring that concern to the attention of the committee, and my own thought was that there has to be a trade-off of how much you hire a town administrator to be the point supervisor for the departments that we do have, and how much of that job can be the clerical work that supports her own work of supervision. So we left it at that. Each of us understand that position. I just bring it to you for your own thoughts. Anything else? Then, can I go back to Stan's motion?
So said.
So said.
Second.
Second by Peg. Thank you for your time.
Oh, we have to vote.
And patience. Everybody vote aye.
Aye.
Stand up and leave.
Okay, hold on, don't move.
Don't move.
Don't move.
Okay.
Second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Stan made the
They
motion.
made the motion.
Peg seconded.
And the selectors
yeah.
are free to make their own.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Steve.
Thank you, though.
I just wanted to know where that book was.
Okay.
I was not
At,
making fun of you, but it was like, wow, it sounds really
Dennis,
cool.
what are you
Yeah,
doing?
I can probably get it to you in soft form. I don't know where ask Dana where if there's a printed copy, but the planning board is working on it now, so it's not in final form.
Okay.
But
I'm trying to get the
Yeah, no, it was just,
budget through.
you know, you said it was just a good read, and I'm like,
I can probably get it to you in soft form.
okay, all right, thank you.
Why don't you give me your email address?
Where do you go?
Actually,
He's
it's
gonna
Virginia
haul it
message.
because
Just
he's-
heard at metrocast.net. It's easy.